Welcome to the Rural Futures Institute at the University of Nebraska. I'm Chuck Schroeder. I'm Executive Director of the Institute, and this is our weekly engagement with change makers in rural that we call Catch Up with Chuck. I'm joined today by two really outstanding undergraduate students at the University of Nebraska who are engaged in a great adventure that we sponsor each year at the Rural Futures Institute called our Rural Serviceship program. So, we're excited to have them here. We have Raghav Kidambi, and Tyan Boyer. And you're going to get to know them a little bit better as well as their plans for the summer. So guys, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the Rural Serviceship program, I want to give our audience an opportunity to get to know each of you. You come from very different backgrounds to this mission you're on this summer, and I think folks will like to know that. So, Raghav, I'm going to start with you. I want you to tell our folks a little bit about your background, your upbringing, family, any of those things that you'd like to talk about that bring you to the University of Nebraska and a little bit of that mission.
Absolutely. Firstly, thank you for having me here, Chuck. It's a pleasure to be here. To start off with, I grew up in a city of about 7 million people. So Chennai is the city. It's in the southeastern coast of India. A lot of coconut trees. We have the longest coastline in the world, natural coastline. But again, my parents, were very different people from the start. My mom was from a rural town. My dad was, very much from the cities. And, from when I was a child, I was able to experience the differences between how they even interact with each other and then how they interact with me. And I'm like, wow, how are they so very different? And of course that had something to do with their upbringing as well, right? And that and being able to travel along with them honestly had exposed me to diverse opinions and gave me a unique perspective of looking at the world, which right now that's probably defined my life more than anything else. Traveling, meeting new people, getting to know them better, and just trying to see how better I can impact their life and how these new people can impact potentially my life.
Sure.
And that started off again with my parents and them being different and such stuff.
Well, that foundation is gonna guide you your whole life. I just will tell you. So
absolutely,
I think that's important to know.
Absolutely.
So, Tyan, you're not new to the Rural Futures Institute or the Rural Serviceship program, but you're new to our audience. So I'm going to ask you the same question to let them know a little bit about your background and upbringing and what brought you to the University of Nebraska at Kearney.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you very much for having me as well, Chuck. So I'm from Plainview, Nebraska. It's a small town of about 1,200 people in northeast Nebraska. I have two parents that both came from rural backgrounds. Two of the hardest working people that I've met in my life. I can't thank them enough for everything that they've given me in that aspect. They're the type of people who don't. I don't know how they get everything done in the day that they do. So that's very inspiring for myself to have two role models in my house like that. And that's kind of how I try to live my life, is just nose to the grindstone, very hardworking, do what needs to be done in the time that needs to be done. And that rural aspect is what really led me to UNK. UNK is a small enough community, but that also provides those opportunities that a big city can provide. Wasn't too big, wasn't too small, it was just the right fit for me.
Sure. Well, you've taken advantage of that and gotten involved in a variety of programs, including the Rural Serviceship program. So I want to have our audience understand a little bit about what you're doing. So for this summer, the two of you will be going with a teammate, teams of two, teams of three in your case. You're changing all kinds of things. But going into a rural community to solve a problem, address an issue that has been identified by that community as a high priority. So indeed, you're going to be working with leaders and mentors in those communities, but the truth is you're expected to solve a problem, to address an issue, create a result based upon your own resources and creativity in figuring that out. So this week we've had these guys involved along with their colleagues that are going to a number of communities, involved in some very intense training and preparation for this experience, because it is not a typical internship where you're simply going out to get some experience in a chosen field. You're actually going out to build leadership skills, build human relationship skills, problem solving skills, conflict resolution skills, community building capacity, all in a real world environment. And over the last 5 years, the Real Futures Institute has placed 38 students in 19 communities. We've seen phenomenal outcomes, not only for those communities where real issues have been addressed, but also for the students that have been involved in that project. So, Tyan, I'm going to start with you. You and your partner are partners, actually are the first in history to go back a second year into a community and carry the project you started in 2017 to a new level. So I want you to talk a little bit about the project and your expectations for McCook.
Sure. So one of the things that, the reason why we were brought here is really McCook has an issue right now that we're trying to help solve in regards to childhood obesity.
As do many, many communities, right?
Correct, both rural and urban.
Right.
So what we developed along with our professors was a camp that kind of incorporated health and wellness, but also sustainability. So the camp's acronym is THETA, which stands for Teaching, Health, Exercise, Technology, and Aquaponics, which is where the sustainability factor comes in.
Right.
The health and exercise portion, very obvious with childhood obesity. You're trying to get these kids out moving, educating them in regards to nutrition and just how much they can do as far as exercise goes. And then technology, just the way that the world's changing. I mean, we are constantly being pushed with more and more technology. So these kids need to be able to adapt to that. In aquaponics, I know it's kind of scary to say this, but we do have a food shortage. I mean, we have a continuously growing population, and they're expected by, I believe it's 2050, to actually run out of food for this population. So what are the kind of things that we can do to help shape this younger generation so that we can prepare for these problems that are very real?
And I know one of the things I've heard you say about the project this year is that you're going to incorporate parents at least one day a week into the program. So we're kind of building a family connection into these principles.
Yes, that's right. Once a week we're going to be bringing in the parents to teach them the same material that we're teaching their kids. If you only have your child come home and your family's not really leading by the same example, they're not going to follow that principle. If we can really get with the parents and the children, start to formulate these families and start to shape them and with this mindset, this futuristic mindset of how important health is, how important exercise is, how important what we put into our bodies is day to day, we can really start to change family by family, community by community, and eventually grow this across the state.
Sure. Okay, Raghav, it's going to be a whole new world. You're going to be a new guy in town in Seward. You had the opportunity this week to meet via Zoom, at least, Jonathan Jank, who's been a great ally to the Rural Futures Institute through a variety of activities. So tell a little bit about the community you're going to and what your projects are going to be.
Absolutely. So I will be in Seward, Nebraska, and at least from what Jonathan had communicated with me, I was able to realize that the community by itself requires a fresh outlook. Although there are people moving into Seward faster now than any time in the past, I'd say decade, it still seems like there are some gaps that need to be bridged when it comes to folks moving in, and just stuff like, where are we going to live? Are there, how are we going to buy a house? Are we going to rent a house? Are there landlords around? How do we find these people? How do we find a job? How are our employers, or is there a connected web of employers that can potentially help us out here and to be employed? So for those who move into the community, what are those first things? What are those things that are most important that we can set up to kind of streamline the processes involved with a person moving to a new community, right? And a lot of the times, not just in Seward, but anywhere, wherever you go, you might run into problems where you're like, how do I set up my utilities? Where do I go for this particular thing? Because there isn't necessarily like a set up job board site or stuff that are like websites that can show you, hey, you can work here within Seward, Nebraska, or you can find a house or rent out here in Seward, Nebraska, or just places that, things that people need in order to even move to a community. So we are trying to market the community and also try to bring together stakeholders, much like, again, employers, landlords, business owners, and even the community, the folks who want to make a change within community, bring
Right.
those people together, see how we can eventually help each other out in an effective, strategically planned manner. So without having luck play a role, plan it out and try and
Sure.
get this to work together.
Dr. Lindsay Hastings just spoke to you guys this morning, who is a Seward resident, and talked about the importance of community engagement as a key toward community development. So I know one of the objectives that Jonathan and other community leaders in Seward have is creating what they call that stickiness.
Absolutely.
So when a young family moves there, they don't feel they're just planted on the face of the earth somewhere. They actually feel they become part of the community and,
Yeah.
and have a role to play
Absolutely.
in that flow toward development of the community. So I know you're going to have an interesting time. Seward is one of our poster child communities for a successful rural community that's thriving, but does it on purpose. They've worked for generations to make sure that they're the kind of community where people want to live. So I know you're going to enjoy that engagement, right?
Yeah, looking forward to it, Chuck.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, we have always said that this is not a program for everyone. It has some pretty big challenges. It takes genuine courage to go into a community where you haven't lived, and work with people you've never met or don't know very well, at least. Work on a project that wasn't your choosing, and be challenged to come up with a solution that is not found in a textbook. Challenges your creativity, your courage, your leadership, and we think that's pretty cool. There are lots of adults, quite honestly, that would pass on that kind of challenge. So I'm so proud of you for being willing to take that on. So I'd like to hear from you as to how you think this experience plays into your own life ambitions and goals. Tyan, you want to start?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I don't really have a place that I have in mind necessarily as far as the community goes to where I want to settle down in the future.
Sure.
So this is going to be a great experience for me, a great opportunity to go and really give myself that experience without actually having to settle down there, right?
Right.
So I get to go into a community where I'm not from, where nobody knows me, and just really just do it my own way without anybody really having any preconceived notions about me or anything like that. And that's great. I mean, that's going to be how it's going to be in the future when
Sure.
my family and I decide to settle down wherever that may be.
If it's in Chicago, it'll be the same
Right,
deal.
exactly,
Yeah.
right. I'm going to have to meet people. I'm going to have to know the heavy hitters. I'm going to have to know the players in the community, things like that if I want to get things done.
Yep.
And then as far as a career goes, I'm looking to go into physical therapy. The direct problem-solving application is absolutely right there. There's a problem. We have to set up a plan of action, and we have to go step by step to hopefully relieve the pain, so to speak,
Sure.
of the community. And that will be a direct application with my future patients.
Sure. Well, as I talked about Seward, I have to say the same about McCook.
Absolutely.
I grew up with McCook as really our trade center, and so through the course of my life, I've watched those leaders in McCook through difficult times and prosperous times, always looking to make their community a special place. And I know they've appreciated you guys coming out there and the project you started last summer, and so I'm proud of what you're doing. So, Raghav, tell us how it fits for you.
For me, very much like what Tyan said, this is again a novel experience. I'm going in to solve a problem. And for me, solving problems is something that I get intrinsically motivated for. Like it motivates me to want to get things done. And that, again, fulfills my, need for happiness or whatever you'd like to call fulfillment,
Sure.
for lack of a better word. So I want to go in there, get things done, shun stereotypes. I want to help people, I guess, develop the community into something that they have been wanting it to be for a while. And I want to be, again, the catalyst that can make things happen. Those might be big words, but this is truly what I want to do, that I want to pretty much make sure that our goals are reached by the time that we're done with this serviceship program, and that I can leave Seward feeling satisfied both intrinsically and extrinsically, and say, hey, Jonathan, here's some great work that we've done, and I'm proud of what we've done working together. And working together along with stakeholders within the community, be it Jonathan or anybody else that we are introduced to, is also going to be a great different experience for a student like myself. So
Sure.
Looking forward to it.
Well, it is those big ambitions that make life worthwhile, and that will define the difference between you guys as leaders in communities and folks that are just along for the ride. So I just have to tell you, we at the Rural Futures Institute think you're a special cut of humanity that's willing to go into a community and try to drive change. And by the way, when you improve those communities, you make life better for all of us on the planet. So we're very proud of what you're doing. We'll be intrigued to stay in touch with you, not only this summer, but throughout the course of your careers. We think you're special. Anything you'd like to add?
I'd just like to thank RFI for allowing me to do this serviceship again. It was a tremendous experience last year, and thank you guys for having me back, and thank you for having us here today, Chuck.
Delighted.
Pretty much the same. I'm very delighted to have this experience and to move on forward, see what's next in store for me through RFI. So
Good deal. Well, listen, we want to invite you to stay in touch with the Rural Futures Institute through our website, through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of those tools that you might choose to follow. We'll be back next week looking at real people and real places that demonstrate thriving rural communities are a worthwhile choice for good living. Thank you so much for joining us.